Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Rita. You hardly look like you've been anywhere.
Yeah, you don't see the big rings underneath my eyes now. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I didn't go south.
My husband's been in Texas until tomorrow. He's been in Texas for a week
Wow.
with his dad.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
that's sweet.
Yeah. His dad wanted to go see his sister. So sister doesn't travel anymore. She's 84 or 86. I can't remember. So dad went to her.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So Chris said, I'll go with you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
It's probably been as warm here as it's down there practically. It's so
Well,
nuts.
this is the funny thing. He sent a picture and I said to him of his dad and his cousins. And I said, how cold is it down there? And he goes, it's like 74. I'm like, your cousins are wearing a coat.
Yeah.
He says, yeah, they keep saying they're cold. And I just shake my head.
Yeah.
So
Well, you gotta get, your use out of those garments once you buy
That's
them.
right. That's right. They get excited if
suppose.
the temperature goes below 70.
That's
So
really
I know
fun
Eric
for them.
knows about the meeting, right?
Yeah, I thought so.
It
Are you
is.
shaking your head now, Elaine?
No, I was with Beezy this morning and she said that Eric was planning on being in Boston today and he did not.
Oh, right. That's right. He had said he wasn't
the-
sure he was going to get back in time.
Yep.
That's right. Oh, okay. So why don't we go ahead and get started? But he didn't tell you definitively that he wasn't going to be here, Becky. Is that right?
Right, but I did review everything. I went over the contracts with him and
Okay.
it's okay with them, so.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Yeah. Now I thanks Elaine for that. I do remember, I do recall him saying that at the last meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and call a meeting of the Shutesbury Selectboard to order. This meeting is being held via Zoom, and today is November 1st, 2022. And so we have no public comment this evening. This is a special meeting to do two things tonight. The first is to review the contract for the owner's project manager for the library construction. And then the second is a follow-up to an item that was on last week's agenda, which was just confirming Shutesbury's participation as part of a grant being done by the city of Greenfield. And Becky can talk to us a little bit more about that. I know you sent out the background information, so thank you for doing that. But the first item is to go through the contract for the owner's project manager. And I see Mary Ann's here with us this evening, and Elaine, who's chairing the library building committee. So I know Becky and Mary Ann have spent a lot of time negotiating this agreement, and maybe if you could just very briefly give us a background on kind of how this works, what the OPM is responsible for. I'm not going to continue to say owner's project manager, but that's what OPM stands for. So do you want to lead? I don't know who wants to lead off, Becky or Mary Ann.
I'll jump in and Mary Ann can jump in after that. So an OPM is the creation of the legislature to help assure that municipalities, cities and towns across the Commonwealth are supported in their major construction projects, that they have a professional who is their representative in the building and construction of public facilities. So it's a key role. It's important to have somebody that you can work with that will be, very savvy and has a large knowledge base about construction, who is very experienced, and who can help bring the project home on budget and on, with the full definition of the project. So it's been an interesting process. The committee had opened the RFQs, the request for qualifications. They reviewed them as a committee and made a single recommendation for the number one recommendation. And that was CMS, which is Construction Monitoring Services. They're out of Marlborough, I think. Yeah, Marlborough. And they are very experienced. They've not only done a large number of municipal projects, they've even worked in Franklin County, which, that being our home, it's very helpful to know that they're not just about big urban areas. So this process, the last step that was handed off to us by Elaine and the committee, the library building committee, was to negotiate a contract with the CMS. I had prepared some comparisons in the last conversation with the committee. We were aware that the percentages that the industry usually has, the OPM often comes in between 3.5% and 5% to 5.5%. I'm sorry, 3.5% to 5% of the total project costs. And we are a small project, relatively small, even though 6 million sounds like a lot of money for us. And in smaller projects, the percentage usually drifts up. Our goal from the committee was to try to get 4%. But the backdrop to that was the smaller projects all were at 5% that we surveyed from the MBLC. So we did our best. We went back and forth with the OPM candidate, I think 5 times. It was frequently enough that the last comment he just made was, he probably already put in his $300,000 worth of negotiating just dealing with us. So we did get him to actually budge a little bit on one item. I'll put what he did. They put together a proposal, and I'll put that up on screen while Mary Ann fills you in on more details, and then we can look at what we've accomplished.
And Becky, while Mary Ann is doing that, so this is an instance where the price isn't part of the selection process, that you qualify the best, you select the best bidder, correct? And then you negotiate price after that.
Right. So you're going for, yeah, exactly.
Qualifications over price.
Yeah.
Right.
But it doesn't mean you just accept sort of anything that they
Right.
give you in terms of price.
Right. Right.
Correct. So so they made a proposal. That was our first step in the negotiation. We asked them for a proposal, which they emailed to us before our initial Zoom meeting. We had two Zoom meetings and 2 phone calls, I believe. So what they did is they outlined the design phase services, which are also in the contract, but the role their proposal makes is that it allows them to vary, it's like a summary of the contract, but it also puts in the details of exactly what they will do. One of the things that the committee really was committed to was having a clerk of the works on site 40 hours per week during construction. And we calculated, the rough estimate is construction would take 12 months, an equivalent of 52 weeks. So that was a key element in their proposal. Where it got a little bit dicey was when we saw the original price. This is the final. The original price was $339,000. Which was 5.3%, I think. So we were determined to get it below 5% if possible. The first strategy, we tried to request that we have the clerk of the works part-time in the beginning of the project, because it was going to be a softer period before, before the foundation was poured, before they were always, on site 24/7, especially in the early stages where they would be focusing in on ordering and setting up their site and their work site and making all their preparations for materials and labor. And we didn't feel that that would be a 40-hour-a-week period. So we were very concerned about that initial time and fought for part-time. They had a very strong response to that, saying that once they've hired somebody, they're committed to them, and they are a smaller company and can't just, throw people here or there on given days. So in the end, how we ended up addressing that, finally in the last days, we were able to move, we were able to create a pre-construction services category, phase that was not originally in there. So basically we built in 60 days, 2 months, and which allowed us with another, there's a little bit of time between the project design and the bidding, but it was allowed us to extend the contract 3 months so that construction will end on March 2025 instead of ending on December 2024. These are critical months because we don't believe, and we've had this supported by others, that we could really be in full construction starting January of 2024, given our climate and the amount of snow or ice or frozen ground they would encounter, and any construction they did during that time would likely come at a higher cost. So that was an important, that was the biggest thing, was we were able to extend the contract 3 months. And the reason that was so important was one of their requirements that they put out was if we were to extend construction phase out, it would be $17,000 a month. We were very concerned about supply chains and other things. That's why gaining the extra 3 months after they start making orders, it's worth over $50,000. So if we hadn't been able to do that and we had run over, we would have been liable for those funds. So that was the biggest thing we finally got them to do, was to move the schedule around, expand it. We do have limited services during the pre-construction services. The contract allows us up to 40 hours. They added this paragraph, the pre-construction services paragraph, which gives us the additional 40 hours of project support. They are clear that if we go over, it'll be billable at their hourly rate. I haven't updated, but it was only one sheet. The final contract has an additional sentence saying that they will report their time to us during that period weekly, so we can monitor how we're using their time and try to manage it and try to stay within the 40 hours if possible.
Becky, I have a question. And this may be in the more detailed contract. I don't know. I think I may have missed it. If it goes over the allowance, are they going to get an owner's change order to make sure that they have our permission to do that?
Yes, that was the key thing that we went back and forth, because Donna wanted to be sure that was in there. Any changes to the contract at all have to be done in writing, or we're not financially responsible. And
I
that,
just want to make sure that that's there. Okay.
yeah, it's written in section 9. It's written in this document. There's a sentence, I think it's with additional services.
Okay. I just want to make sure that that was in there. That's all.
No, we made sure that was in there a couple of times.
So just, can I follow up? Because that was kind of the question I was going to ask too, Melissa. Who is the owner in this case?
The town of, now, from my experience, what I'm doing now, it's the town is the
So-
owner of the project.
So it would be coming back to the select board with this contract?
I think we charge the building committee with overseeing that, but you and I, or the select board should have access to the documents if they want to see them at any point. Yeah, it's the town of Shutesbury is the owner of the project.
Right, I was just wondering who is the town of Shutesbury in this case? Is it the building committee, or is the select board come back into the picture?
We probably should, well, that's something we could, you maybe think about, maybe we meet with the building committee occasionally, get updates, and, I'd like to be able to look at the documents as they come in at certain points, just because of my new experience with construction and dealing with the city of Springfield with that, as the owner of the project I work for. But it's something that we should keep tabs on. I know the building committee will, but, and we may want to talk about that at a next meeting, Rita, about if there's a role we want to just, peek in occasionally and meet with the, just to have updates and just to have it on a record, to have an update to the select board,
So the select board's in charge of contracts. So if there is a change to the contract, well, the library building committee would probably be on the front lines. They would have to bring it to you and explain it, and it would have to meet the select board's approval. But
can you also go back up? There was something else related, since we're on the topic. Slide back up. Hold on one second. Stop there. Next one, up a little bit more. Maybe we already covered it. You might have already covered it.
can you remember what it had to do with, Melissa?
Now, a question popped in my head, but then the change on an allowance was a little bit more important.
Okay.
Oh, yes, it was. It was the meeting with the building committee once a month. Is there an option to have that more often if needed?
Okay, so that's meeting with the full building committee.
Yeah.
There will be representation, probably Mary Ann and another member, to the construction meetings that are weekly.
Okay.
So that's
Important to have, more than once a month meetings, as long as that's fine.
yeah, and it might be Mary Ann with Jeff Quackenbush. I don't know. They'll have to figure that out. The building committee will take that on. Mary Ann raised her hand.
So I asked my colleagues who either have gone through construction projects or who are in construction projects now, and OPM meetings with the building committee are typically about once a month during the construction phase. But then those construction meetings with a couple of key members and the OPM and the contractor and the designer happen on a weekly basis.
Will they have minutes from those meetings, those weekly meetings?
Yep.
Mhm.
And they should be sharing those with the committee, and I'm sure the select board, the committee will most likely share them with the select board.
And do you know what software they use for their contract tracking, like for submittals of changes or requests for more information or such like that? Do you know what? No, you don't.
Sorry, I have not asked that question.
Oh, no, that's fine. They must use something because they have to track all that, and there's transmittal numbers and stuff. I was just curious.
Well, we can find out soon, I'm sure. So I just wanted to go over the reason for these elective services. These both were originally in the contract when it was at 339,000. So we were able to get it down by moving them to the elective service category. And the reason we did move them was to bring the price down, but the pre-qualification of general contractors can be very time consuming. We're hoping that it turns out we have an extraordinarily talented library building committee that can take on some of that work. And then the second category is FF&E, and Marianne is eager to do a lot of shopping for the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So we're hopeful that there'll be an active subcommittee that takes on those tasks. And they aren't just for the OPM, so there'll be support from the designer on those issues too. I mean, on the FF&E. And the other issue about pre-qualification of general contractors is that each of the general contractors has to be DCAM certified. So there's a certification process. So most of your issues like financial problems, not completing work, those are kind of, they're already flushed out through the DCAM process. They kept saying that about 95% are flushed out with DCAM. So the big concern is that other 5%. So we'll have to make sure that we do go through a pre-qualification process. We're just going to have less involvement from the OPM during that process.
Is there going to be a retainage cap on any of the subcontractors? Like a 5% retainage held for a year until after construction?
I'm sure there'll be a retainage on everyone. Yeah.
Okay. It helps with any financial issues you might have.
Yeah, it's incentive to get it done. Yes, and hopefully we won't need too many incentives, but we'll have them. Are there any
No.
other questions?
Yes.
Did somebody say they had a question?
Marianne did, I think.
No, I'm sorry. Am I can't. I thought I was muted up.
Aha.
Hot mic.
Okay, so this has been, I assume, Becky, I know we had a conversation that after the building committee had kind of approved this, that a few things had changed, but so the price of the contract, but it wasn't, it was felt after the negotiation, and then having Jeff Quackenbush from the building committee, who has decades of experience in public construction, that he had reviewed everything and was satisfied.
He said it was okay. He wanted one change just in the 11th hour that I forwarded yesterday, which is, I wish we had known about it before we submitted the contract. The change that he requested was on change orders, they will do an estimate for any change order over 50,000 or over. And upon reflection, yesterday he asked that we request that be changed to 25,000. And the response I got today was that is increasing the workload, and that they would be happy to do that, but there would have to be a change in compensation. So we didn't get that last change he asked for, but he was very much a part of helping us extend the overall period of time, because that was also his concern. But so he was disappointed we didn't get the last one. but he was happy, he was okay with everything else. We also had the change.
Can I stop you there for a second? So does that means that any change order that's under $50,000, there's no, what is it? They don't come back to the building committee? Is that?
No,
No,
they
no.
usually mean they don't go through a full proposal to give you the down to the minute cost. It's more of an estimate than it is an exact cost. Does that make sense, Rita? So they'll tell you what it is and what they kind of expect an estimate to be, rather than go out and do a full bid or a full workup of the actual. Yeah.
So that when the change order is, it has to be 50,000. So if we have a change order for 25, they won't go through all the estimating that they would.
I see.
was
Yeah.
the-
Usually, I mean, a good construction company will give you a good estimate. They would have talked to the subcontractor. So they're going to have some sort of a good number. They're just not going to give you the very detailed down to the penny. From my experience and what I do, a change order does not take long to write. The getting the stuff together does, but the actual change order itself takes only minutes to write. So it doesn't add a huge amount to the administrative work.
Right, it's the
To write it.
estimating part. And Jeff was reflecting on their interview, and in their interview, they said that they have a very strong estimating capability.
Yep.
So Jeff was thinking, well, let's take more advantage of that capability by having it click in at a lower amount. But unfortunately, it was, that was the last change that I sent them last night. Well, yesterday, early afternoon. So we didn't get that one through. Mary Ann didn't feel that at this point in the process, it was something to make us shut down the process and go back out to bid with somebody else. Because of the overall high marks that the firm was getting with her compatriots that were in building projects now. I got a very strong recommendation from Greenfield, and they on a couple of projects. So we were at a point that we were feeling that they were going to make things work, and and given the high marks they were getting, I think they tend to put in the work when it's necessary, was the message that was coming across. So it was making us feel confident that they would assist when it's needed.
Okay, other questions? I guess I just want to confirm that Mary Ann, Becky, that this is an instance where there's 75% reimbursement on these costs from the MBLC. Is that correct?
Yeah, for the OPM and the
OPM.
designer. Yeah.
Okay, and Mary Ann has checked with the MBLC about their satisfaction with CMS, their knowledge and.
Yes, yeah, so the MBLC, the director of the Gloucester Library, and then another local reference, all give this firm a high reviews, good reviews. So.
And then the last thing I was saying, Rita, was about working some with Donna when we had concerns, and in the end, she said she was thought we had done a good job, that she was in the end happy with the contract and the terms of the proposal.
Okay, good, great. So any other questions or comments? And then if not, we'll move to a move to a vote unless there's anything else Becky or Mary Ann want to add, or Elaine, for that matter, want to add to this discussion. Okay, so not hearing any further questions. Do I hear a motion to approve the contract or the proposal from CMS for Owner's Project Management Services for the new Shutesbury Library?
So moved.
And I will second that. Any further discussion?
Mm-mm.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Farrell, aye. Great, so next steps.
Are in motion. We've got, in case we got this far, I submitted to the Central Register last Wednesday. We figured we could just do it again if it failed. So that means that the designer contract will be announced tomorrow. And we are very close.
When you say designer, you're talking the architect?
Yes, the
Yeah.
designers will be the architects. And so we will start our bidding process on November 2nd, with a closing of November 22nd, right ahead of Thanksgiving. We hope to be reviewing hopefully the building committee doesn't eat too much turkey, or maybe they'll need more to get them through. But that following week, we hope they will be reviewing all the designer proposals and then moving towards hopefully coming up with a contract by the beginning of the year. How does that sound, Elaine?
That sounds great. And I just want to say thank you to the select board, because we have a meeting in an hour and I will be able to announce this to the building committee. I am thrilled.
Well, thank you to Mary Ann and Becky, because I know this was a tremendous time commitment. And I know Jeff Quackenbush put in a lot of time too. So, and Melissa, it's great to have somebody who's in the biz now.
Absolutely.
It really is.
On the select board. So we're covered. We're really covered.
I write the change orders, I write the RFIs, I write the submittals, I write all that stuff.
Great. That's wonderful. Okay. All right, good. Well, thanks. So November 2nd, you're saying the RFP is out, or is it an RFP or designer proposal?
RFQ.
RFQ.
Yeah,
Okay.
another, and this one doesn't have to go on combis. It's and
Okay.
it will
great.
be given to all the architects we can find.
Good.
Okay.
Okay. So we are done with the library for tonight. Thank you, Elaine, Mary Ann, for coming. You're welcome to stay.
We have another meeting.
All right.
All right.
A double
Have
header.
fun. Have fun.
Thank you so much. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Bye.
so I know we just have sort of a quick item regarding the, I never know whether Geneva is a town of Greenfield, is it the city of Greenfield? What do I call it? It's a Greenfield anyway, applied for and received, Becky, is this correct? Like a public health grant, and that we are a part of.
Yay.
Provided we do the confirmation. So if you could just give us a quick rundown. I know you sent us out the background information, some more additional information than what we had last week.
Yes. So are you still there?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I know what I did. I was trying to share, but I hadn't taken down the first one or something. Let me try again. I'm trying to get this document. Here it is, public health.
So what was unclear last week was kind of what the grant amount was and what our part was. It was, but then you followed up, Becky, I know, with the Board of Health.
Yes, I followed up with the Board of Health. So what we were actually doing, it's not, and I apologize, it's not.
If you want to just tell us what it is, because Melissa and I both had it.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can do a summary.
Oh, I know what happened. It's under here. Okay. So I'll just, okay, so the important thing is Shutesbury, this agreement that the select board is signing is an agreement to work with the other towns. And that's why it presents how many, if the town has a specific population, about the Board of Health, and then it lists all the services the town has about health agents, an inspector, public health nurse. So this grant that has been applied for by Greenfield as a regional grant was already, this grant is creating a new funding source to have these services available, not only in Greenfield, where they already have a significant department, but in Leverett and Shutesbury and the other smaller towns as well. So they've already, for a 2-year period, received over $600,000. And we'll be sharing in those responsibilities and having those services available to our Board of Health because of this grant. So we're signing on to a partnership more than a grant application. And
Right, right, that's good. That's much clearer.
Yeah, and I apologize for not having it clear. And again, I talked to Catherine twice about being here tonight, but I think hopefully I can call her if you want her to explain further. But
No, I think
that's
that's
her handle on.
adequate. I understood it better after getting this additional
Yeah, not
material,
having this
so.
information made it difficult to figure out what was happening. So
Our Board of Health gets access to services that heretofore they didn't have access to, and it's by virtue of Greenfield doing this as a regional grant.
yes, yes.
Great. Okay, so Melissa, do you have any questions?
No, that was just me rotating my shoulder. My neck is having a spasm.
I'm
Sorry.
not laughing at your spasm.
No, I need to go to chiropractic. So.
Okay, so any questions, Melissa?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. All right. So do I hear a motion to for Shutesbury to participate in Greenfield's regional public health program?
So moved.
Okay. And I will second that. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Make peace, O'Neill. Aye.
Carol, aye. Okay, great. Anything else, Becky?
Not tonight.
No. All right. And next week, just as a reminder, we are meeting on Wednesday because Tuesday is election day. So we'll be at 5:30 on Wednesday. Same place, same time. All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Make peace, O'Neill. Aye.
Carol, aye. And have a good evening, rest of the evening, everybody.
Bye,
Okay.
everybody.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Good night.
And Geneva, I'll be in tomorrow to sign anything.
Oh, good.
All right. Good night.
Good night.